Hola and howdy to all of our HACEMOS members from across the country for joining our today's national webcast streaming to you from AT&T World Headquarters in downtown Dallas, Texas. I'm Lee Garcia, and it is my sincere pleasure to introduce to you today's speaker, an individual whose life story encompassed hardships but a lot of success. A life story that I'm confident all of you will find very inspiring. She has been featured on ABC's Good Morning America, as well as on Cada Dia with Maria Antoniette Collins on Univision, and a multitude of local, state, and national telecasts for both the English and Spanish language media. And we are extremely honored to have her here with us today. Please help me welcome Lilyan Prado Carillo.
Thank you so much. All right. Good afternoon, guys. Yeah? Did they feed you guys? Pizza good? Yeah? All right. Well, I'm super excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me. I have the pleasure of coming to talk to you guys and just sharing a little bit about my story. It's something that I love to do because I think that every time I see a young person, every time I see your face, I just think back to 15 years, when I was your age, or even 15 years before that when I was 5 years old. I want to start out and kind of give you a little bit of information about myself and the work that I do. I actually work at a university right now. Have you guys, anyone heard of University of North Texas? For out people in California and Arizona that are watching us, shout out to you guys, but we are probably the third largest school in Texas, UNT is. And so I have the pleasure of working with students and making sure that everybody knows that college is accessible. How many of you guys in this room believe that you can go to college? Raise your hand. All right, now let me ask you this. I saw a couple of hands and I'll go up, and that's okay, because we're going to be real today. I don't want you to tell me something that you don't actually believe in. Now, how many of you guys know that you are actually going to go to college? Raise your hand. If you are 100% certain, raise your hand. Don't be shy. I won't tell your mom. Yet, all right? Okay, now, when I was your age, guys, I didn't actually believe that. I had a lot of things going for me that I didn't think I could go to school. I didn't even know if I was going to graduate high school. I'm originally from Guatemala. Any Central Americans in the house? Yeah? No? Aw, dang. Dang. I know in California we have some Central Americans, hopefully, maybe in Arizona. But I'm from Guatemala. So I came to this country when I was 4 years old. How many of you guys are born here? Okay. How many of you guys are born in another country? Okay. All right. So, and if you don't, I'm sure you guys have friends that were born in other countries and have come here. So you guys know some of the obstacles that a lot of people overcome to come to this country. So when I was 4 years old, my family migrated here to the United States. And so going through learning a new language, going through and looking at education, trying to translate from my dad when I was like 5 years old, all of those things were difficult for our family. My dad worked really hard, but he wasn't making a lot of money. And so college, when teachers came in and talked to me about going to college, I didn't really think that was possible for me. Now, let me jump ahead really quick. So the work that I do right now, I've had opportunities to go all across the country and talk to students just like you about going to college. Okay? And the only reason I got to do that is because I actually went to school and I graduated from a university. I've had opportunities to go to MTV. You know where they film 106 in Park? Right down on the MTV, like TRL and all that? That's part of the older shows. Okay, I got an opportunity to go do that. I've got an opportunity to travel all around the country to be on TV stations. My dad was like, "Te vi en la tele." He was all happy, And he's telling all his friends, she's famous. And I'm like, no, not really, But all of it has been through Access for Education. And one of the reasons I wanted to do stuff like that was because I know the numbers that my partner here was telling you guys earlier, they're true. He was saying that how many kids don't graduate high school and go to college? Anybody remember? Yeah, 1 out of 4 or 1 million, right? I have other stats that it really doesn't matter what the number is because the number is so high. They said that right now here in the United States, there's an epidemic going on. Who knows what an epidemic is? Anybody? Tell me what's an epidemic. Help me out. You can shout it out. Yeah. Something that spreads and no one can stop it. Y'all remember the H1N1, the flu, whenever people were coughing and they're like, ooh, quítate, sácate, get out of here, right? Because that's something that once it starts, it doesn't stop. Well, right here, they were talking about an epidemic in the U.S. that high school students are dropping out of high school. They said that every 29 seconds, a student drops out of high school. 1/3 of every student. And for Latino students, African American students, and Hispanic and Native American students, that number goes up to 2/3. That's a lot of people. So I started thinking when I was in high school, wait a minute, if that means that it's me, my sister, and my cousin, because all three of us are Latinas, that means two of us are going to drop out of school and only one's going to make it. And guess what? That's exactly what happened. I was the only person in my whole family to graduate high school. Both my little sister and my cousin both dropped out of school. I was so excited when I was graduating high school that I bought my own cap and gown. I actually got a job and I paid, for my own cap and gown. And I remember graduating and thinking, I'm going to pass this down. It's going to be our family tradition, So at the end, when they're like, move your tassel, congratulations, class of, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to tell you the year. All right, it wasn't too long ago. Okay, so they said, congratulations. So I moved the tassel, and then when people throw their caps out, have y'all seen that? I was like, ooh, I'm going to save it. I didn't even want it to get dirty because my plan was that I wanted my cousin and my little sister and my other cousins to wear it with me. I wanted to start a new tradition. And after I used that cap and gown, nobody else used it in my family. And so that was a concern for me. It was a concern to see so many of you guys, people that you might know, not graduate high school and not take advantage of the opportunities that come with education. I'm going to just talk to you a little bit about my dad. My presentation is my father's daughter, okay? And it's called Access Your Success. Because I'm a true believer that if you want to do something for your life, you're the only one that can make that happen. If I see each of you guys 10 years down the road and you've done nothing, okay? Or you don't have anything, maybe you didn't go to school, maybe you don't have a good job, maybe you're in a hard place, it's not anybody else's fault but whose? Your own. Because people are here, you have teachers that bring you out to places like this, you have companies like AT&T that are trying to get you guys motivated and tell you the awesome things that you guys are able to do with your life. And if you don't take advantage of that, the only person that we can actually blame is ourselves. Because the opportunities are there. The access is there. And the success part is your responsibility, okay? All right, so I always show these pictures because people laugh, So I'm originally from Guatemala. That's me when I was a baby. I always had a gorro on. I had a little, I don't know, what do you call that? A little gorro, yeah, on my head, because my dad said I was bald, which is okay, because my dad's bald now, so it evens out, but we came here, like I said, when I was 4 years old. When we got here to this country, it was my dad, my mom, my sister, and me. My dad worked at a brick packing company. He still actually works there. He's been working there for about 25 years, 30 years. And it's hard work. Every day I see my dad, he wears a pañuelo, not because he's Oro de Homes, It's because he wears a pañuelo so the sweat doesn't pour down his face, okay? He has always been a person that has worked super hard, but doesn't make more than $25,000 a year, no matter how many hours of overtime he works. And so this was my dad. We came here together. A couple of years probably passed, a year and a half passed. I remember I was in kindergarten. And I came home from kindergarten one day, and my parents had been fighting the night before. And so when I got home, my mom was there. We lived in a little trailer. It was, just a long little trailer. And she took a piece of paper, and she folded it, like a letter. And she said, hey, I'm going to go to the store. Take this letter and give it to your dad when he comes home, and I'll be right back. Okay, so my little sister, who was 3 years old, I was about 4 and a half, almost 5, was right there laying down. And so she gives me this letter. And so I didn't think nothing of it. I said, okay, my mom's going to the store. She's going to walk to the corner and come back, And whenever my dad came home, I gave him the letter. And remember, take a visual. My dad's like tired. He's sweaty, con polvo, with all this stuff all over his face. And he takes the letter and he opens it and says, he kind of stopped and he looked at me and he goes, where did she go? I said, she went to the store. Fue la tienda. She went to the store. And he kept reading it, and I looked at him, and I knew that meant that she wasn't coming back. And the letter, she had said, I'm leaving. And so that was the day that my mother left. She left me and my sister, my 3-year-old sister, with my dad for my dad to take care of us. My dad begged her to come back. He started drinking. Every weekend was the same thing. We would go here to Fort Worth. I was living in Denton. We would go to Fort Worth to try to get her to come back. And she wouldn't come back until one day she said, okay, fine, I'll come back with one condition. If you buy me a plane ticket to go back to Guatemala to see her mom, my grandma, and I'll take one of the girls to prove to you that I'm going to come back, and when we come back, we'll be a family. So my dad was like, yeah, anything you want. I'll do anything you want. And so my dad bought her the plane ticket. She went, and she was going to pick one of us to go with her, me or my sister Susan. You know, I thought she was going to pick me, you know, because I'm cuter. Hello, you know. No, I'm just kidding. But she didn't. She ended up picking my little sister. And so they left when I was about 5 years old. This is me and my dad. And about 2 weeks later, one of my dad's friends says, is Edna back? And my dad was like, no, she's still in Guatemala, but when she comes back, we're going to be a family again. She has my other little girl. When we come back, we're going to be a family again. Everything's going to be perfect, right? And he said, are you sure? Because I think I saw her at, you know, some dance or something the day before. And my dad's like, that's impossible. So he drove out to Fort Worth, and he found that she had come back. So what she had done was she left my sister in Guatemala with my grandmother. She left me with my dad, and she had no intention of coming back for us to be a family. And so the reason that my PowerPoint is called My Father's Daughter is because I've never had a mom. Ever since I was 4 years old, 5 years old, I've never known what it's like to have a mom hug you or a mom tell you you're pretty. And to a girl, we need people to tell us we're pretty, right? Even the guys, you know. I've never had that experience. And so right from the get-go, there was times in our life, or in my life, that I didn't think I was going to really amount to much because of my circumstances. And I know right here, as I'm talking to each one of you guys, I can look at you in the face and I can see that there's things that you guys have overcome. I know people out in California and Arizona that are watching us. All of the students out there, every single person has a story. All of you guys have a story. All of you guys have things that you have overcome. Maybe things that you as a student, as a 15, 16, 17-year-old, shouldn't have had to experience. Some of us are more lucky. Some of us had a better life. Some of us have had good parents, have had good access, you know. But even at that point, you're still living your life. You're making decisions, okay, that are affecting you and the things that you guys are going to be able to do in the long run. And so what I'm here to tell you is that your past, things that your parents did, things that you've had to see, things that you've had to overcome, don't define you. None of that defines you. What defines you is how you react to those things. What kind of choices do you make? What kind of man are you going to be? What kind of woman are you going to be? Does that make sense? That's the main point of this. I had a lot of stories growing up with my dad. So can you imagine a 5-year-old girl with a dad, you know, from Guatemala, you know, living in North Texas. And people always say, Lilyan, why did your dad stop in North Texas? I have no idea. I mean, we were like making our little way. I think the rest of my family kept going out to LA, Riverside, you know. And everybody, we just stopped here in North Texas. I have no idea. So we stopped here. I do have family out in Los Angeles, but we stopped here. So for whatever reason, I ended up going to elementary schools here. And I had a lot of good people come into my life. A lot of teachers just like the people that are here that came with you guys. A lot of people that helped us kind of figure out what kind of life we were going to have with my dad. I remember being in 4th grade, and I was trying to be cool in 4th grade, right? And I had my hair. I was like some of y'all girls. I see y'all. You know, so I had my hair like halfway to the side, you know, like trying to be sexy. And I was like, what do you know about sexy when you're in 4th grade, you know? But so I was trying to like have my hair like this, and I couldn't see the board. So the teacher got concerned and called my dad and said, Mr. Prado, your daughter can't see the board. So they like had me go get glasses, the big free ones, the thick, you know, bottle ones. And then my dad figured out, pues no puede ver because of the pelo, the hair, you know? And I was like, he said, you can't see because of the hair. So what did he do? Y'all see that picture right there? He cut my bangs right here. Right here. Right there. And he's like, now you can see, you know? And I could see, but it wasn't really cute when they saw me back, right? But that was my dad. The following year, I got a phone call from the school nurse. They called my dad and said, Mr. Prado, your daughter has lice. I had caught lice from someone. And so my dad was like angry that he had to leave work. You know, he had to leave the work and come pick me up at school. And the nurse told him, you need to get rid, right? Have anybody ever had lice? You ain't gonna raise your hand, even if y'all had. Thanks, man. Thank you. All right. So the nurse told him, you need to buy some Rid. And so my dad was like, okay. So, you know, my dad limited English, you know, not a lot of English, you know. And so we go to the grocery store, and why did he buy Raid? Y'all know what Raid's for? You don't know what Raid's for? The cockroaches, right? Okay, so that dude took me into the bathtub and like sprayed my head with Raid, right? And my head was on fire, You know, like, what's Alicia Keys' song? This girl is on fire. Yeah, my head was on fire, but it killed the lice. So it worked. It worked out all right. You know, but that was the type of stuff that I was growing up with. And every time that I get a chance to talk to other people or talk to students or talk to teachers or even talk to parents, you know what? At the end of the day, I wouldn't change any of that. Because those are the stories who made me. Those are the stories or those are the things that made me the person that I am. Those are the things that make me appreciate the life that I had. And I tell my dad every day, you know, I would never change anything. You know, so what that we didn't have big riches when we were growing up. You know, I had one pair of Nikes, and I would only wear them when I played basketball on the basketball court because I didn't want to waste them, you know, when I was walking down the pavement to go to school. Okay, I don't even know, maybe they weren't even Nikes, maybe they were Psyches or something, you know, I don't know. But to me, I took care of what I had because I know that we didn't have very much. There are times that I wanted to play YMCA ball, basketball, or volleyball, whatever, and we couldn't afford it, the $30 that it takes, okay? But my dad always did tell me, go to school. You're smart. You can do better than this. You have an opportunity. You're going to be something someday, and he would always tell me that. My dad's friends were always around. We always had people that supported us. I had a student when I was giving this presentation, and the student came up to me. He said, Miss, why every picture with your dad, why does it have beer in there? I said, because my dad drank, you know? He did. I mean, that was the way that he coped with certain things. But my dad was always responsible, okay? All the friends that he had, he made sure that I was taken care of. He made sure that I wasn't in danger. My dad always made sure that I had food to eat, okay? Even though we were eating it on the floor pushing it with tortillas, and we weren't using forks or nothing, you know, watching novelas is probably not the best thing to do. But that's the way that I grew up. I remember going to school, 5th grade, and the teachers would ask you, what did you do this weekend? You know? And so they would ask me, and I would say, or other kids would be like, I went to the zoo. Yay. I went to the movies. I went to, you know, whatever. She'd come to me, and I was like, well, we were at home with my dad, and his friends came over. And her turn to be nice would be like, oh, who are your dad's friends? And I was like, pistolero, el aguacate, sarchin, you know. Pistolero, what does that mean? What does pistolero mean? The gunman, the shooter? And she's like, oh, my God. And I was like, he really doesn't have guns anymore. You know? But that was my reality. I'm going to go a little bit faster. But so all of these stories, guys, to tell you, okay? You can read whatever you want about people that can come and talk to you guys. I've met some NBA professional basketball players. I've met some NFL players that come in, and you look at them, and you're like, wow, they have riches. They live next door to Beyonce. You know, they got all this stuff. They've been featured on Cribs, you know, all this different stuff. But realize that they didn't start out that way. Not everybody that comes here in a suit was born with a suit, okay? Not everybody that comes here and says, you know, she was featured on TV or something. This is where we came from. A lot of us. So what's to say that you guys can't do 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 times more things that we've done? And that's what I expect of you guys. If I knew now the things that, if I knew then the things that I know now, I would have made some better choices. I've never made all the best choices. But what I've always had inside of me was a desire to do better. And I always surrounded myself with teachers and counselors and people that would help me. People that believed in me, not people that were going to tear me down. I know that that can happen. I know that you can have friends, and whenever you're trying to study, they're going to be like, why are you studying for? You know, let's watch The Walking Dead. You know, why are you going to do this? Let's do that. Why are you going to volunteer and go clean up a park? You know, let's go to the mall. Okay? But those aren't the type of people that you need to be surrounding yourself with. You need to be surrounding yourself with people that are going to do things that are going to benefit you, things that are going to open the door for you, things that are going to help you. Does that make sense? All right. This picture I showed my dad, like I said, he still works at that brake packing company. My dad always says, why don't you show a better picture of me, you know, when I'm cuter? And I'm like, I like this one, you know, because it reminds me of who he is. It reminds me that the little things that I had, even though I didn't have a lot of stuff, he worked for. It wasn't given to him. It wasn't anything that was a gift or that was free. He worked for it every single time. When I was in high school, there was a time in high school that, you know, things did get difficult, you know. And I know that a lot of you guys, how many of y'all are in 9th grade? Raise your hand. Freshmen? Sophomores? Juniors? Seniors? Woo! A couple more months. Yeah, right. Okay, well, good. So I know who I'm talking to. But when I was in high school in junior and senior year, it got kind of tough. I was working. How many of you guys have jobs? Yeah, and maybe helping your family. It was difficult for me when I was working to go out and get a job and then get up and go to school. So at one point, my senior year, I started getting kind of depressed because I was working a lot. I would get out really late. I was working actually at a telemarketing agency, so I would be on the phone till like 1 o'clock. And then the next day, I had to get up and go to school. So slowly, what do you think happened? Started sleeping in late, right? And then I became what at school? Probably lazy, and what else? What's the T word? What's the bad word? Truant, right? Do y'all know what truant means? Whenever you don't go to school, and then the court comes and they find you, and they're going to find your mom or your dad, or they might even send you to juvie, okay? So my senior year, even though in 9th, 10th, and 11th grade I had been a good student, my senior year I started kind of falling back because of things, because of getting a job. I remember I was a senior, and I was driving to school. And back then, I didn't have a license. I was just doing that. I was just driving. And my trick, so that I wouldn't fall asleep, was to eat cereal. Okay, so I'm like driving to school. I'm eating cereal, so I'm not falling asleep because I was so sleep deprived from the night before. And all of a sudden, I just remember like dozing off. And all of a sudden, I opened my eyes, and all I saw was the light was red, and then a truck pulled out in front of me. So my first semester, my senior year, I have this major crash. I burn into this car, into this truck, a double extended truck. I totaled my car. Thank God I had my seatbelt on, okay? But mind you, I'm only 18. I don't have a license. It wasn't even my car, okay? And so I go totaling into this car. And all I remember is these people run to me, and this guy was like pounding on the window, and he's like, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And I look at him, and he looks at me, and I was eating Cocoa Pebbles, because I like Cocoa Pebbles, and all he sees is like the Cocoa Pebbles all across my face and the milk, and he like turns around to the people in the back, and he's like, "She's in shock, she threw up, call the police, or, call the paramedics, and I rolled my window down because it was, not an automatic, so I'm like, it's just my Cocoa Pebbles, and I couldn't breathe because of the seatbelt, but all I could remember as soon as that happened, y'all, was not the Cocoa Pebbles on my face. It was, how much money am I going to have to pay for this? How am I ever going to get out of this? How am I going to keep going to school? I was already working as it was to help pay bills. I was a senior, so how am I going to go to college? So I spiraled into this thing of depression. I ended up dropping out of school my first semester, my senior year. And that was something I never wanted to do. I ended up dropping out of school. I was working 2 jobs. And this lady right here was one of my friend's moms. And she came to me one evening and she said, "Hey, the girls' volleyball team made it to regionals. Do you want to go watch them?" So she came to visit me and she brought my friend. And I said, "No, I don't really feel like going." I wasn't even in school. I was like, that's not even, no. And she's like, "Come on." She goes, "Let's go." So she took me back to my high school where my team, the team that I had played with for 3 years, made it to regionals that year. And said, just no pressure, just, watch the game. Okay, how many of you guys play sports? Yeah, all right. So y'all know what it feels like to be benched? Like you see the game going on, and you're like in the bench, and you're just like, "Put me in, coach," right? Y'all know what that feels like? It's frustrating, right? Okay, well, I wasn't even on the bench. I had taken myself completely out of the game. I was in the bleachers, right? But that's how I felt. I wanted to be a part of it, and I couldn't understand, why I wasn't in there. I didn't even have the chance. Why? Because I had already taken myself out. I had already eliminated myself from that chance. So I'm watching the girls, and all these people are there. All these seniors were talking about going to college and prom and homecoming and all these great things. And I'm sitting there feeling sorry for myself and thinking, I don't have a life. I can't do it. As it was, I was undocumented. I didn't have papers. I didn't have any money. My dad sure didn't have any money. Now I didn't know if I was going to graduate high school because I had dropped out, right? So this lady comes to me after the game and she said, "Did you like the game?" And I said, "Yeah." And she looked at me and she goes, "Lilyan, what are you doing?" And I said, "What do you mean? I'm doing what I have to do. I got in a wreck. I have to pay what I owe, And she goes, "No, what are you really doing? Is this the type of life that you want?" And she said, if you want to go to college, if you will go back to high school, next semester you can come live with me for 1 semester, okay? You quit one of those jobs, you go to school every day, I'll help you fix the transmission on the car, And she made me sign a contract that said if I was late or if I was tardy, I would have to pay a certain percentage back of the money that she helped me so that she could fix the car so that I could drive to school. So this lady was like my guardian angel. I went back to school the next semester. My dad was really upset as a typical Latino parent, that I was moving out of the house when I was a senior in high school, but that's something I had to do. She opened the doors to her home, and she helped me go back to school the next semester. In May of that year, I graduated with my high school class, and I still graduated with honors because of the work that I had done 9th, 10th, and 11th grade year. But I would have never been able to do that if I didn't accept the help of another person. See, growing up the way that I did a lot of stuff on my own. A lot of stuff. I knew how to cook. I knew how to clean. I could translate. Whenever my family members came over to the house and they wanted to apply for a job or wherever, Whataburger, McDonald's, wherever they wanted to apply for a job, I could fill out an application by the time I was 10 years old. Okay? I would do everything. I was self-sufficient. Okay? And I know that a lot of you guys are able to do that too. I mean, I could take, the bus. I could do all those things by myself. But what I couldn't do by myself, I needed to accept the help of other people. None of us are an island. None of us can do things on our own. We all need help sometimes. And when these people are here, all the counselors, the person that was talking to you earlier, and he said, how many of you guys want a mentor? Do you want a mentor? Your high school's already a part of it. Do you want a mentor? Do you want to request it? Yes, request it. That's what you guys need. You need that help. You need that guidance. We all do. Even if a person like me, I'm finishing my master's degree in August, finally, I still have mentors. I still need help. And so that's what I'm here to tell you guys. Make sure that to access your success and for you to be successful, that you go out and you accept the help that people are willing to offer. That's what they did for me, and I loved it. So I graduated high school. Everybody's like, Miss, your dad graduated too? And I'm like, nah, that's my diploma, But he was so happy. He took all these pictures of me when I graduated. Like I said, I was the first person in my family to graduate high school. He took all these awesome pictures, but I didn't get none of them because he left the cap on the thing. That's all right. I remember. I was in a program called Upward Bound. Have anybody heard Upward Bound? No? Are you guys an Avid? Talent Search? Have you heard? Okay, all of those programs are basically the same. And so one of these programs, what they did for me is my senior year, they took me to D.C. For my senior trip. And they would help me with the SAT, they helped me with the ACT, they helped me with my classes. They encouraged me to go on to college. And so my senior year, they took us to D.C. That's us in front of the White House. And one of the coolest things that they did for me was when I was a senior, they introduced me to a congressman. Do y'all know what congressmen are? Yeah, in D.C., right? So they represent a certain area. These are the dudes that pass the laws. And so this guy was there, and he had an intern. And so this girl comes up, and she says, yeah, I'm an intern. I live in D.C. All right, I'm from Denton. Not even Dallas, Denton. Everybody's like, where's Denton? And I'm like, close to Dallas. They're like, oh, okay. So I was in D.C., and so they say, any of you guys could be interns. So I tell my counselor, my teacher that was there with me, and I said, I want to be an intern someday. And she's like, oh, yeah, you can do anything, right? Because that's what teachers say. And I'm like, yeah, right. So I'm like, whatever. A couple of years later, I'm in college now. And so this lady comes in and is talking about internships. And I was in a workshop just like you guys are right now. And so this lady comes in with a really nice suit, and her hair's all done. And she's talking about internships in Washington, D.C. And she says, we take 30 students out of the whole country. Okay, at the whole country, including Puerto Rico and Guam. I was like, why you got to include Puerto Rico and Guam? That's a lot of people, a lot of extra people, right, to compete against. And she said, we only take 30 people nationwide, but we'll pay for your airplane ticket. We'll pay for where you are going to live. You can work for a congressman or a senator, okay, or in the White House. And so I'm like taking on all these notes. And then what happens? My mind starts playing tricks on me and says, you can't apply to that. You're not smart enough. You're not good enough. How many of you guys have that little voice in your head? Everybody in here does. Even our parents do. Everybody. Okay? I have a friend, Melvin Adams, that also works for CoolSpeak. He played for the San Antonio Spurs. Okay? And he talks about wanting to be a professional NBA player. Okay? But he was only 5'9". How many 5'9" professional basketball players y'all know? Not one, right? Not a lot at all. But he talked about doing 1,000, layups and free throws every single day to practice every single day. That was his motivation, and he actually went and did it. And then he was with the Harlem Globetrotters. So all these little things, all these little voices that we think it's only us, it's not. Every single person has that negative little voice in your head that says, you can't do that. Why are you doing that? And sometimes we have external ones too. Like my cousins, they would be like, you want to go to D.C.? You know, you think you're so smart? You know, why are you trying to do this? Why are you trying to do that? And I was just like, get out of here. You know, I was like, I'm going to apply, right? So I finally applied to this internship because my professor made me. He told me, he said, go ahead and apply. You never know what can happen. You know, what's the worst that can happen? So I went ahead and I applied, but I didn't tell anybody. I only told one tia, one aunt. What do you think she did? Told everybody else. Oh, you got one of those too? Yeah. Yeah. She told everybody else, right? And so then the day when they were supposed to come and they were supposed to tell me, you know, did I get the internship? How many of you guys think they called me back? How many of you guys think I got it? All right. Those are the people that get the prizes. All right. So they don't call me. So 5 o'clock D.C. time rolls around. Nobody gives me a call. So I go outside and I'm all disappointed and I'm like, Dad, I didn't get it, you know, I'm not going to D.C. this summer. It was for 8 weeks. I was going to leave, go 2,000 miles away. And my dad's like, oh, pobrecita, next time, you know, mija. And then he leaves and he's like, yeah, you know, because now I'm not going to leave him, right? But I'm all upset. Now I feel dumb because the little voices in my head proved out to be right. So I go back to my college and I tell my professor, and I said, why'd you do that? Why'd you build me up and psych me out and all this? And now I have to go back and tell my tia and all the 1,000 people that she told that I didn't get this internship, you know? So now not only do they know I'm dumb, everybody else knows I'm dumb too. You know, and I was really upset. So then the next day I'm home, okay, at our little trailer that we lived in. We lived in a mobile home. And I'm doing my chores. You know, I got my merengue music on, you know, because it's easier to do chores with music. My boys do that now. And so I'm sitting there and the phone rings, and it's area code 202. And I already did my research, so I know that the area code 202 is from D.C. So I'm like hyperventilating, so I finally catch my breath, and I'm like, hello? And she's like, is this Lilyan Prado? And I said, yes. And she said, congratulations, you're selected as one of the 30 interns that are going to come to D.C. We already sent you your airplane ticket. You're going to work for Congressman Gene Green. We're going to give you a $2,000 stipend, and you're going to live in George Washington University. They said, congratulations. Sorry we didn't call you yesterday. We were short-staffed. And I was like, oh, no problem. Don't worry. Don't worry. No, that's fine. You know, so I like run out, and I tell my dad, Dad, I got it. I got the internship. I'm going to D.C. And he's like, good, mija, you know? So he's like, I'm going to sell the mobile home. I'm going to sell the trailer. I'm going to go with you. And I was like, please don't sell our house. I'm coming back in 8 weeks, you know? But I get to go to D.C. That's me in front of the White House. We were having a reception with the president of Poland. And it was through the Congressional Hispanic Caucus Institute. This is the congressman that was there with us, Gene Green. And these two guys, this guy right here is the one that kept bugging me. He's the one that kept saying, Lily, apply, apply, apply. What does it matter if you don't get it? Just apply, apply, apply. So here's what I'm telling you. If he had not been in my life, if he had not gone with me to that conference and sat with me in that workshop, I would have never applied to that. That was one of the best experiences I had in my whole life. Okay? What I'm telling you guys is don't wait for your teacher to tell you to apply for something. You don't need to wait for a coach to tell you that you're good enough when you already know in your head that you're that good of an athlete. You don't need someone else to tell you that, okay, for you to believe it, because you need to believe it on your own. You have to make that decision, okay? I was blessed. I had a person like that. And if you guys have people like that, awesome. But if you don't, if you're coming from an environment when you're alone, if you're coming from a home where your parents don't really see the potential that you actually have, or maybe you don't have parents, maybe you're living with friends or tias or uncles or grandmas or wherever else, whatever your reality is, don't wait for somebody else to come and tell you. Because you're the only one that matters. You're the one that has to believe it, because if you believe it, you're going to make it happen. One of the things after college, I got to go to Mexico and teach kids in Mexico in rural areas in Coahuila, Saltillo, right? I've had those amazing opportunities. I graduated from college back in 2003. I became a teacher here in Carrollton, Farmers Branch. I taught all my little second graders. It was pretty awesome. This is one of the classes that I taught. I had the best 7-year-olds to teach, okay? I don't know if you guys have little brothers and little sisters, but my little kids were, like, empowered. They were like, I'm going to college, you know? They're only 7, you know? They wanted to pledge my sorority. I'm a member of Chi Epsilon Sigma, a national Latina sorority, so we were, like, doing steps and strolls and stuff. And they were like, I want to do that, miss, you know, trying to do all this stuff. You know, when the marches were going on for immigration, they were like, Viva la raza. They didn't even know what that meant, you know? But they were like, we want to do it, you know? And they believed it, and they contaminated their parents. And some of those kids are already in high school. They're already getting ready to apply to college. They're your age, Okay, so that's something that a positive note that a teacher can tell you as young as you are when you're 5 years old, you will carry that forever. I've had both. I've had teachers that have been amazing and have told me that I can do anything, and then I've had teachers that have said, you're not going to amount to much. I had a DARE officer. Y'all remember DARE? Dare to keep crime, what is it? Dare to keep drugs or crime away from students or something like that. This policeman that came to talk to our class, and he said, more than likely, if you're an alcoholic, that means, if your parents are an alcoholic, that means that you're going to grow up to be an alcoholic. When I was in 5th grade, for a person to come and tell a 5th grader that, it was troubling. And I remember being in 5th grade and said, I don't want that to be me. I want to have a better life than this. One of the best opportunities that I had, that I tell people, is I actually lived on a bus. I was kind of homeless for a year, but it was really cool. So I lived on a bus for the Sally Mae Fund, and I actually got to go to 35 different states, 55 cities in 1 year, and I talked to about 40,000 kids. Talking to them about college, making sure that they knew that college was accessible. And here's the thing, I didn't tell those students anything new. I'm not telling you guys anything new. Not anything that these teachers and these counselors and people that are with you every day haven't already told you. I'm just telling it again. They're telling you because they have the information for you. And for those people that are tuning in from California and Arizona, your teachers and your counselors are there to open the doors for you as well. They're there to show you how to do it. So through this campaign here in Texas and everywhere else, it was just that. It was applying for school, applying for financial aid. You can go to college. You can do all those things. And so I had an opportunity to do that. It was pretty amazing. My dad and my brother came out to see me at one of the stops, and it was just an awesome thing. That bus right there was set up as a financial aid office outside. So I remember pulling into El Cajon High School in California, and I jump out of the bus, and people are like, who is that? Is it someone famous? You know, who is that? Who is that? You know, is it Beyonce or something? You know, I slip out, and they're like, who's that? And I'm like, go to college. And they're like, this isn't what I signed up for, you know? But it was a pretty amazing experience. So I got to talk to a lot of kids, make sure that they know their potential. Like I said, I got to visit MTV Networks. This is one of my best friends, Michelle. I think she was out here last year with the group. So I got to spend one of my birthdays in New York City, which was amazing. Went salsa dancing, went to the New Yorican Poets Cafe, all that different stuff. My dad would tell me, and his friends would ask, ¿Cómo le hace tu hija? How does your daughter do it? She goes everywhere. You know what? I didn't pay for any of it. It was through education. It was through opportunities. It was through knowing people that could help me and that could open the doors for me. And it was through me believing a little bit in myself, that I believed in the potential that other people thought that I had. So now what I'm doing is I work at UNT. I work with a program called Emerald Eagle Scholars. So for any student that wants to go to UNT, and there's a lot of schools across the United States that do this. There's a lot of schools across Texas that do this, but it's a tuition guarantee program that if you come from a family that makes less than $40,000 a year, UNT will cover your tuition and fees for 4 years through a combination of the federal, state, and UNT grants. So if you guys want more information, I brought some cards. I can give it to you guys. For those tuning in from California and Arizona, if you guys want that information, I can send it out to you as well. And I'll have some resource pages that are going to be uploaded later on. I get to work with young girls across the country because I believe that as a young woman, you guys have so much potential. You guys are all beautiful, and we're not doing ourselves justice. Young men, you guys have the same obstacles. Okay? You guys have so much potential. Right now in college, across the United States, how many more girls do you think we have than guys? There's probably about 55, almost 60% are girls, and only about 45% are guys. Okay? So, guys, if you want to, meet somebody like nice, go to school, go to college, right? For African-American males, it's even more than that. There's only about 30% African-American males and about 70% African-American females. Okay? We need to quit doing that to ourselves. We all need to get an education. After my tour that I did, I met a wonderful guy. Okay? Y'all know he's cute. Don't tell him that, because he always says, show that picture. When he was bigger, and I'm like, no. So this is my husband. I got to marry my best friend. He was a great guy, and one of the things that I loved about him was that he wasn't a guy. He was one of the first men that I actually met, a real man. He was the person that was taking care of his kids. He had 3 sons, okay? I remember when my cousin introduced me to him, she said, he's really cute, but he has 3 kids. I was like, peace out, And then when I actually met him, I was thinking that he was going to be like, hey, what's going on? He was like, nice to meet you. and took off. And I'm like, wait a minute, what happened right here? So I'm like interested, and he was telling me he was taking care of his 3 boys by himself. He would cook, he would clean, he had a job, he had a decent place. He had all these positive comments for his kids. In the bathroom, it would say, love each other, take care of each other, do good, help people. Like, he was being positive. And that was one of the things that I fell in love with him for. Okay, he had so many expectations, and he continues to do that now. We married, and these were the 3 boys, so I instantly became a mom of 3 boys. Now they're older. Now I have a junior in high school, a freshman in high school, a 6th grader, and then the baby is now 4 years old, and then another one on the way, in case I can't tell. They're like, dang, Miss, you got 5. And I'm like, yeah, but I did it the easy way, right? I already had 3. They're like, you look good for having 5 kids. And I was like, I know, right? One of the boys on Facebook, one of his friends told him, man, your mom's hot. And he was like, don't say that. They're like, yuck. And I'm like, hey, who was it? But that's okay, because his dad, everybody says, he looks like he's one of your brothers, and he loves it. And I'm like, dude, you're not his brother, you're the dad. So anyways, we got married. We live out in Denton, like I said. This was the picture I always include, because y'all remember how skinny my dad was at the beginning? Yeah. Now look at him, But this was when we were pregnant. Well, I'm pregnant. He's just chunky right there. But y'all see how he's bald now? Right? So everything comes around, right? No, but I always include that, and I include this as my daughter. She's 4 years old now, but I include her in this slide, and I include her for you guys, for all of you guys, because I know that one day you may have children. Hopefully, in the long distance ahead, you may have children, right? And the way that I grew up, guys, there's nothing wrong with it. And I love my dad, the way he took care of me, and I love everything about my life, okay? Could it have been better? Yeah. Yeah, it could have been better. But I don't want to take for granted anything that my dad did. My dad did the best he could with what he had. But my child's life is completely different from the life that I had. When I grew up, the only book that we had in our house was a Bible, and we never opened it and read it, ever, because it's hard to read the Bible, Although you can do it, I do it, all right? It's hard. My daughter, since she was 2 years old, has had 300-400 books in her room. My daughter, when she was 2 years old, could know already how to open a book and how to take care of it. She knows how to spell her name. I said, baby, how do you spell your name? AyannA. Like, she has a little attitude about it, too. Okay, Ayana. She does. Okay, she knows how to spell my name. I tell her, baby, she'll say, Mommy, how do you spell Daddy's name? And I say, Albert. And she goes in her computer and she types it in. She has her iTouch. So you talk about technology with 3- and 4-year-olds already having iPods and iTouch, and she'll tell me, Mom, where's my iTouch? And then I'm like, try to change stuff, and she changes the settings on me. I'm like, really? She put a password on it, and I was like, really? And I was like, I'm your mom. Give me the password. But talk about technology, guys. You guys have the opportunity here to be exposed to so many things, okay? You guys have the opportunity to just change your life and to do so many things and to better the life that any of your children may ever have. And that's what I want you to start believing in. Even if you never have kids, you guys grow up, okay? You get married or not, it doesn't matter, but the life that you're going to have is going to be of higher quality than perhaps the life that was given to you. And that's the whole point. There's no shame in that. My dad grew up and gave me a better life than the life that he had back in Guatemala. I grew up, and the life that I'm going to give my daughter is better than the life that I had. And one day I expect her to grow up and to give her kids a better life than she had. Does that make sense? We get better every generation, and that is what you guys have to look forward to. Now, I'm not promising that you're going to be rich, because I'm not rich, okay? None of us are rich, okay? Some of us maybe, but I'm not, okay? And I'm not telling you that with a bachelor's you're going to be instantly rich. That's not going to happen. But you know what? We have health care. I never had health care when I was a kid. I had an Audi when I was 5 years old. My dad stuck a quarter in there and put tape. It went in. It worked, I would get migraines in my head, and my dad, I couldn't go to the doctor. He would get a lemon, cut it in half, put it in coffee beans, and put one on each side of my head and wrap my head, and then send me to bed. The next day, my migraine was gone, but then I smelled like coffee. All the teachers would be like, who's making coffee? And I'm like, I'm trying to leave, That's what I'm telling you, though. This kid has a 101 temperature that isn't even a big deal, and we rush her to the doctor, okay? The life that you guys can have, the higher quality of life that you can have, okay, through an education, through being empowered. That's what I'm trying to tell you guys. For me, the last thing is this. I will never forget who I am. I will never forget who I came from. This is my dad and me when I went back to Guatemala. That's when I graduated college. But for me, I'm not a person that's been on TV. I'm not anybody famous. My boys will tell you she is not that cool. You know, they really will. I tried to do the Harlem Shake with them, and they're like, no, you can't be in the video. You know, and I'm like, dang, I can be the person in the suit, you know. They didn't want me to, but this is who I am. The kid with the jacked up veins. They got raid on her head, you know, that was on fire, you know, with a dad that all he did, guys, he didn't pay for a single dollar of my college education. I went to school. It took me 5 years to graduate. He didn't pay for a single dollar of my college education, but what he did is he believed in me. That's all it was. He believed in me, and he held me accountable. If I brought home a 95 from school, he'd be like, why did you get 100 in Spanish? And I'm like, I got a 95, you know. I would bring 100 home. He's like, why did you do the extra credit? You could have got a 105. And I'm like, golly, for real? You know? But he held me accountable. I missed school one day because I missed the bus. He made me walk to school, even if it was cold outside. Why? Because the next day, was I going to miss the bus again? Nope. And if I did miss the bus, he'd go like this. He'd show me the big old belt buckle or the boot. Y'all get hit by a boot? It hurts, you know? Hey, it wasn't child abuse. It was discipline, okay? It was discipline. And so what I'm here to tell you guys is take advantage, guys. You guys have so much potential. You guys have so many opportunities in front of you. I'm going to go back the other way. So what I want to do right now is I want to play a little game with you. You guys all right? Can we play a little game? I got some giveaways. No giveaways? Yes? Game? All right. How many of you guys have phones? Okay. All right. If you don't have a phone, get close to somebody, okay? So what we're going to do really quick is define the word. If you can Google or whatever, you know, search engine you got, okay? No service in here? There's no service in here? Oh, no. Okay, it's okay. All right, it's okay. So we won't need it for the whole thing. So the first part I was going to have you do is define luck. Because one of the things that people always tell me is, Miss, you did all those cool things because you're lucky. How many of you guys have heard that? When you get an opportunity and they're like, you're just lucky. All right? No, that's not true. When I was teaching high school and middle school, oh, okay, if you have AT&T, there is free Wi-Fi. If you can latch on. Yeah, if you define luck, the word luck, you can go to like Webster's New World Dictionary. Okay? Here, tell me, read it again louder. Tell me your name. Maria. Okay, Maria, from where? Adamson. Adamson? No love for Adamson. Okay.
The first one says the chance of happening of fortunate or adverse events.
Okay, the chance of something happening. Okay, so this is what I have right here. Seemingly chance happening of events that affect someone's fortune, fate, something that happens, right? How many of you guys believe in luck? How many of you think that the things that you guys are going to achieve in life are going to be because you're lucky? Right? Good. That's good. That's on the right track. I had a student tell me one time, Miss, you're just lucky. That's why all these things happen. But here's my definition of luck. Who can read this for me? Any volunteers? Okay, right next to Maria.
Press your speaker button in front of you. There you go. Thank you.
All right.
Make
You're
it turn green.
fancy with mics. All right, tell me your name, where you're from, and read it for me.
I'm Elias from Adamson.
All right. God, Adamson, you guys are not supportive. All right, say that again. Elias from?
Adamson.
All right.
Your definition of luck is when preparedness meets opportunity. Someone opens the door, the light bulbs goes off, you walk through, you work towards making it happen.
Exactly. Okay. When I was in high school, I didn't tell you guys this, but when I was in high school, I was undocumented. When I graduated high school, I didn't even have the documents to go to school. And here in Texas back then, they didn't allow students to go to school and pay in-state tuition, not like they do now. So if I graduated high school, even though I graduated with an honors diploma, if I would have said, I hate this, I'm never going to do this again, or I'm not going to go to school, I'm not going to do anything with my life, okay, if I would have just gotten a job and said, I quit, then whenever the opportunity did come, I wouldn't have been ready for it. I went to school, to a community college for 2 years. I paid for my own education. I'd work from like 7 to 5, go to school from 6 to 9, almost every day for 2 years. 2 years after that, I finally got all my stuff together. I applied for a scholarship, and I got a full ride to a university. Why? If I wouldn't have been ready and someone offered you the money, it still doesn't matter. You have to be ready. You have to be prepared when an opportunity comes. If one of these top CEO people come in here, or these VPs, you never know who you're going to meet in a place like this. If they come in here and they say, what kind of grades do you have? I like your initiative. I want to pay you a paid internship. I'll pay you $6,000 for the summer. What's your GPA? If she's not ready, if she hasn't been ready for 2 years already preparing that GPA, what's going to happen to that opportunity? It's probably going to go to somebody else. Does that make sense? So what I want you guys to do is always be ready. Always be prepared for any opportunities that can come. Someone comes to talk to you or asks for a volunteer, you should be the first one to volunteer. If I had a $20 bill right here and I said, who wants this $20 bill? Yeah. It's not just enough to open your hands. You know what? Who would be the first person to run down here would probably be the person to get it. Because you have to be hungry for it. You have to be prepared. A lot of you are looking at me like, do you got a $20 bill? No. No, I don't. All right. Let's see. All right, so Google me, not me. You can Google me, but you can Google this. What do you find? In high school, you need to have a good GPA and class rank. Define these two terms. So if you have internet, great, look it up. If you don't, if you know the definition, tell me what they mean.
And remember, when you find it, press the button in front of you so that you can be heard. Only one at a time.
Nobody knows what a GPA is? Yes, ma'am.
It's a grade point average?
Yeah, grade point average. Okay, what does that mean? So what? What does that grade point average mean? So for every class you take, what happens? They give you an average. They give you a point, okay? And then class rank. What does class rank mean? Only this side of the room knows? Yeah. Huh? Tell me over here, someone. Anyone? Over here? Over here? Over here? Tell me what class rank is. Tell me right here, okay.
It's where you fall in with all your other classmates.
Yeah, so let's pretend, I'm going to show you right here. Grade point average on a 4-point scale. Ooh, excuse me.
Whoa.
So if you're taking regular classes, okay, and you get an A in a class, how many points do you get? 4. If you get a B, you get, go on, a C, a D, and an F, you get what? All right, so if you're taking pre-AP classes and honors classes, anybody taking pre-AP? Honors, good for you. So if you get an A, yeah, give them a round of applause. That's good. That's not easy. So if you get an A in a pre-AP class, how many points do you get? You get more points, right? So if you were taking pre-AP and honors classes, can you get a 4.0 or can you get higher? You can actually get higher. So what I want you to do is pull out your calculators. Okay. So if you do have a phone, if you don't have a phone, I see that there's pen and paper right there. You guys can do it really fast. But it's technology day. You get your calculators out on your phone. All right. So if I give you this scenario, these are your classes. You got a science, history, English, and math. And these are your grades. B, B, A, C. What's your grade point average? So you have to add all of those points, and then you divide by the number of classes you're taking. So what is it? 3. Yeah, 3.0. Good. All right. So now it's going to get harder. What if the classes were honors? All right. Oh, I did it too fast. So you get an extra. Dang! So for a B, you get 4 points, and then for an A, you get your 5 points, so your GPA goes up higher. So is it better to take honors classes when you can? Yeah, because your GPA is going to get higher, right? All right. So this will start when? When does your GPA start calculating? Okay, so how many of you guys were freshmen? So this is starting now. What happens if you have a rocky freshman year? Like if it's not very good, what happens? Does it go away by the time you're in 11th grade? No. Grades don't go away. Your transcript, I'm talking to you as a university person now. Your transcript, when I'm pulling it, I'm looking what you did in 9th grade. So if you think you're a 9th grader right now and the things that you do don't matter, they do matter. They matter a lot. So take care of your grades right now. It doesn't mean that if you haven't done good or if you had a bad year that you can't fix it, but it's harder to fix it later on, okay? So you guys need to start from right now. All right, how fast are you with that calculator? This is going to be a hard one. Dang, 2 years. So for you guys that are freshmen and sophomore, tell me your GPA. What would be your overall GPA? Anybody? No. You guys aren't even trying. All right, thank you. Look at how some of y'all are trying to do it in your head. People in Cali and Arizona, I'm sure they're doing it too. They're like, don't guess. Do it on the paper. All right, whoever gets this one has their first dibs on all the prizes.
About 2 minutes because we have to do the 5 minutes for Q&A.
Okay, cool. Okay. Anybody? Da-na-na-na. First person to get it, whenever you're ready, raise your hand and you can come pick a prize if you're right. You're like, oh my goodness, I can't believe you're making us do math.
Go.
We're not even supposed to be in school today. Who? 3? It's a 5? It's on a 4-point scale, but if you get... It's for 2 years. For 2 years, for both years.
Go. 3.
A 3? Tell me your name.
Giovanni.
Giovanni?
Giovanni.
Okay, Giovanni, stand up. He said a 3. Tell me what you said right here.
No, that was my 3, man.
Okay, Giovanni said 3. Who else? Who else has a guess?
A 3.5.
Who else? Nobody else has a guess?
3.5.
A 4? You're guessing. You're like, 4. Tell me yours. 2.8. Anybody else? One more? On a 4-point scale. Or 5-point. Okay, ready? Here, this might make it easier. So you're adding all these and then you're dividing it by the amount of classes. Ready? 3.31. All right, let's see who's right. First semester, second semester, your sophomore year. Here's your sophomore year, first and second. So all those together is going to equal overall GPA 3.31. Tell me your name. Reynaldo? What grade are you in? Freshman? Tell me your name again. Fernando? Fernando. All right, Fernando, you're going to be our first person to pick whatever prize. All right, look at you. You got your math person right here. Class rank, guys, is exactly what our young lady said back there. So just make sure you pay attention to where you are in your class rank. Your top 25%, second, all of that matters. Where are you on that rank? I want you guys to Google your entrance exams. How many of you guys have taken the PSAT? Seniors, hopefully you've taken SAT and ACT. We're going to go really fast through this. But this resource, all these resources are going to be available online as well. FastWeb is for your scholarships, guys. All of this information I'm going to send out to your counselors as well. Apply Texas. If you're in Texas, you can, right here, you can apply to any schools here in Texas. In California and Arizona, I'll have the slides for you. For financial aid, you apply on fastfa.ed.gov. Financial aid, it's a free application, so everybody should apply. Everybody has that opportunity. Financial assistance, you got your FAFSA. If you're a U.S. resident or a permanent resident or a U.S. citizen, you got TASPA here in Texas if you're undocumented, if you don't have a social. Texas is one of the great states that allows students to go to college even if you're undocumented. So make sure you have that. Don't worry, I have giveaways for everybody, so everybody's going to get something from UNT. It's not a recruitment thing. I just wanted you to have something from us and to show you guys that if you do decide to come to UNT, then we'd love to have you. So thank you guys so much, and I'm going to give you guys a chance to do a Q&A.
We're actually going to take Q&As from the web first.
Okay, cool.
So Lilyan, Carla from Orange County Middle College High School says, what kept you going? What was your motivation?
I think my motivation was basically, thank you, Carla. I think my motivation was basically the way that we were living at home. You know, sometimes, even though my dad worked really hard, there wasn't anything but tortillas and salt to eat at home, you know, and I didn't want that for my life. I didn't want that to keep happening. Sometimes when my dad and I would go to a fancy department store, what I thought was fancy when I was a kid, I was about, 10 years old, and we'd go to a Dillard's, and people would look at us funny because they would try to talk to my dad, and my dad didn't know English. I didn't like the way that people looked at us. I didn't want to be different. I wanted everybody to have respect. And so what kept me going and what kept me wanting to pursue an education was I wanted to be competitive. I wanted to be able to speak for people that didn't have a voice. I wanted to show people that everybody needs to be respected and that we all need to be treated equally and fairly.
Okay. Another question from Orange County. Do you have a relationship with your mother?
No. I don't, and I want one very badly. My mom actually, she was living in Oklahoma, and that's a whole other story that I could tell. And I'm going to have my information on here later on, so if you guys want to follow up with me on Facebook. But my mom just made some bad choices afterwards. She had 2 other sons. My brothers are 21 and 19. The 19-year-old has 3 boys, 3 kids, and he's only 19 years old, and they're both in prison right now. And my mom's actually in prison as well. And so I'm waiting for the opportunity for me to go see her. I don't think that she's ready for me, and I don't know how I can approach her. I would love to be able to talk to her and to tell her that I love her. And I forgave her the day that she left. That's the other thing I was going to tell you guys, is if we hold grudges, if we look at people and we build up hate in our heart for them, the only ones we're hurting is ourselves. So I forgave her the day that she left. I mean, I had a kid that told me, your mom's a bee one day when I was in elementary school, and I was like, pop, you know? And I was in elementary school. He tried to hit me back, and the principal was like, and I was like, you know, don't call my mom anything. I love her, you know, I love her. But bad situations and bad decisions catch up with you. And so for any of you guys that have been wronged, don't hold that in your heart. And if you've wronged somebody else, you need to apologize before it's too late.
We don't have any other questions from the web.
Any questions from here for you guys? My sister finally came back when I was 13 and she was 11. We brought her back over. I won't tell you how, but she came back, and she didn't have as many opportunities. She tells me now, you know, because she speaks English with an accent because she learned it when she was older, you know, and I learned it when I was 5. But she's funny. She lives in Fort Worth, and she's trying the best she can. After dropping out, she went back. She got her GED. Now she has a certificate, and she's trying to get her associate's and her bachelor's degree. And she's just hilarious, you know. But she had a hard time because she not only felt abandoned by my parents, by my mother, she felt abandoned by my dad too. And so she's doing the best she can, and she's working on it. She's funny. Y'all play Taboo? Have you ever played Taboo? Okay, we were playing Taboo, and she was like, you know, this is what you do. And I was like, what is it? Like, she goes, like, conferences, what do you do? And I was like, organize? And she goes, yeah, but who's the person? I was like, I don't know. And at the end, it was organist. And I was like, you doofus, that's the organist, the people that play the organ, you know? I was like, I'd never play Taboo with you again, but she's funny. We have a good relationship now. Thank you for asking. Anyone else?
Out of all of your experiences, what do you think was the one that mostly impacted you?
Growing up?
Like, anytime.
I think the experience that most impacted me was probably when I was 12. My dad, I told you guys that my dad drank a lot. My dad ended up getting 3 DWIs. I don't know, he thought he could drive when he was not in a capacity to drive. And it was pretty scary for us. I mean, I remember going on 635, this big bridge. And I remember when I was I was probably like 7 years old, and I would hide in the bottom of the floor in the front seat because I didn't want to look over the bridge because my dad was so intoxicated. I really thought we were going to fly off the bridge. It was really scary. And it wasn't until I was 12 that he got the 3rd DWI, and we had to go to court. And my dad, they were going to send him to jail, to prison. And I had no one else, so if he went to jail, they're going to put me in foster care. And so they had me go before the judge and talk to the judge and say, why did I want to be there? Why did I need my dad, you know, and why he couldn't go to jail? And so I spoke in front of the judge, and I just told him the truth. I said, you know, my dad's had a hard life. My mother left. You know, but hopefully this will change. If you take my dad, I don't have anyone else. You know, I'll be completely alone. And I remember talking to the judge, and he asked me about my grades and about my dad. Did he go to my parent conferences? And I told him, yeah, you know, I translated. So the teacher would say one thing, and I was like, she said I'm awesome. You know, she said I'm the best. My dad's like, tell me the truth, you know. But he cared. He did all those right things. And so the judge gave him a break and let him on probation. He didn't go to jail, so he stayed with me. He had that breathalyzer thing, you know, before you turn the car on, I acted like it was a cell phone. I was like, hello. It wasn't nothing, you know. But talking in front of the judge, I think, inspired me to want to be an advocate, to maybe go to law school one day, to have a voice, to have an opportunity to speak on behalf of other people, to help people, that not just because of the things that we do, can we be judged, okay? My dad, someone could have judged him and said, oh, he's just an alcoholic. He doesn't do anything good. But my dad had so much value. And when that 3rd accident, that 3rd DWI, he stopped drinking cold turkey. He never drank again after that accident. And so our life became a lot better after that.
We have time.
You said you've traveled. Out of all the places you've traveled anywhere, what is your favorite place, the most interesting place you've been?
Oh my God, that's super easy. That's D.C. So I lived in D.C. and I met my husband, and my husband lives in Texas, and then that's why I came back to Texas. So my dad was really happy that I met my husband, right? Because I came back to Texas. But D.C. is amazing. If you have an opportunity to go there, when I lived there, I would just go and chill with Abraham Lincoln at the Lincoln Memorial. I seriously would. I'd get a Coke, I'd get my book, and I'd go sit there and just write and think about MLK and the speech that he gave, and I Have a Dream, and all these marches that have been going on. That's just the best city, in my opinion. I mean, I've been to New York, Chicago, all the major cities, but D.C. is just so historic, and it kind of inspires you to want to do more. And it's so diverse. It's so different. I mean, you can go to a place and eat pupusas, which for Central Americans, I was like, yeah. You know, you can go to another place, you go to Chinatown. You're just exposed to so much. So by all means, that's my favorite place. So thank you.
Awesome. Let's give her a nice round of applause. Thank you so much. To all of you here in Dallas, as well as on our national audience, again, thank you we kind of went over a bit, but as I told you at the beginning, her life story is one incredible life story that I know all of you found very inspiring. We're going to go ahead and continue with our program. Let's give her one more round of applause. Will we please? This was awesome. Thank you. And we'll have her giveaways out on the registration table at the end of the event today. Okay? All right. And there's all her good stuff. Let me go ahead and have the clicker, please. I'm going to ask just real quick, though, before I bring up our next speaker, how many of you picked up on some of the key words that you've heard almost from 9:30 to 9:45 this morning? The sky's the limit was one of them. I'm sorry? You can do anything you choose to do. If it is to be, it's up to me. Yeah, it's up to me. Bottom line, everything is you. That's one time you can be greedy and say, I have this life, but I want this life. And that's what you can do just the way she did and all the other speakers that I presented today. And along them lines, I want to have the pleasure of introducing our guest speaker for this afternoon. He is a native of Harlingen, Texas, and is a graduate of the University of Texas in San Antonio, where he obtained his bachelor's degree in business administration, specializing in international management. He was selected as one of San Antonio's top 40 under 40. That's a great honor by the Chamber of Commerce in San Antonio. He gives back to his community by being on the board of directors for the Arkansas Health Board Foundation, as well as giving back to his alma mater, the UTSA Alumni Association. He currently leads a very, very important portion of AT&T, a portion that the majority of you in here saw, and that was the retail side of the house. One thing that I want to say about this gentleman is that he came onto AT&T on a program that we haven't touched base on. We've talked about how if you have basic skills, you can come to the door of opportunities here. Well, there's lots of programs that AT&T offers our community, offers you, just the way it offered to him. And that is the Leadership Development Program. That's a program that was created many, many years ago by the company to go and pick the top of the top, the cream of the crop, to try to bring them up into our corporation for them to contribute to our company overall. And he's one of them. He's made his path of his career through that program. It's a great honor, folks. And it is just the same honor to introduce you to him at this time. He is the Director of Sales for National Retail, where his responsibility is to ensure our relationship with our large vendors like Apple, Best Buy, Walmart, and Radio Shack. Help me welcome Director of Sales National Retail of North Texas, Mr. Adrian Quintanilla.
Thank you, thank you so much. Can you guys hear me? We on? Great. Well, guys, have you had a great day? Has it been a great day? Let me hear you if it's been a great day. Isn't that great? I got a question for you. How many enjoyed the Network Operations Center tour? How many? Did you guys enjoy that? Isn't that awesome to see what goes on behind the scenes? It's kind of like the Wizard of Oz, right? When you look behind the curtain and you see what's going on back there, it's amazing. How many of you also enjoyed the opportunity to see the retail store up there? Did y'all see that? Isn't that amazing? You know what's amazing about that, everyone, is that it gives you an idea of just how much AT&T wants to make certain that we get it right before we take it out to any one of the thousands of stores across the country, right? So these are the opportunities that we can demonstrate and show the customer experience and see what that feels like before we actually take it out. And so we're very fortunate. I'm excited that you guys got a chance to see that. What about the Telepresence Center? Who enjoyed the Telepresence Center tour? Did you guys get to see that? Isn't it amazing? Just think, about 110 years ago, the thought of potentially flying to Asia was practically not even imaginable, right? But yet, you can connect to Asia now in a matter of seconds in a telepresence meeting. Isn't that amazing? That is phenomenal. So, the question then I've got for this group is now what? Now what? Right? Let me ask you a question. How many of you believe that you can take a portion of what you've learned today and can actually translate it and use it to help you achieve your goals or help to achieve someone else's goals? How many believe that you can take what you've learned today, something that you learned, something that even Lilyan just talked about? Can you take that and help that to help achieve your goals? Congratulations to those of you who are raising your hands. And even those of you who didn't but know that you can, guess what? That is the first step to leadership development. Leadership development, because what's interesting, and oh, by the way, helps you to achieve your dreams, because the first step in leadership is recognizing that what that means is that that's your ability to accept and achieve goals, to help others accept and achieve goals. How many here have goals? Let me see your hands. How many here have goals? All right? The fact that you're sitting here tells me that you have goals, right? How many of you know that you've got people that believe in you to help you achieve those goals? Right? You do. I want you to know that. You do. Whether it's a teacher, whether it's a counselor, whether it's your parent, whether it's your grandparent, whether it's a volunteer, whether it's a pastor, a preacher, whatever, do you know that you've got people that believe in you? And guess what? Look around you. Look around you. Because your peers, you guys got to believe in each other too, because it's just as important to believe that. And here's what's really interesting. When you look at if you could stand here and look out upon yourselves, you know what's interesting? We are fortunate that we get a chance to be with you, because not only do we get to see bright students today, but guess what, everybody? I'm also looking at the leaders of tomorrow, all right? I'm looking at each of you, and I get excited because I think, you know what? You guys are going to be the ones to come in to a company like AT&T and help drive innovation. A lot of the stuff that you guys saw in the building today, that doesn't just happen overnight. That's smart people coming in and helping to create these opportunities. It's driving innovation, right? Driving cultural change that we just heard about a second ago. You guys are tomorrow's leaders. You guys are leading that opportunity now. I want you to believe that. Here at AT&T, we tell our people that the single most important attribute of leadership, is character. Character, integrity, honesty, right? When I think of the word integrity, I'll never forget my sophomore year in college. My freshman year in school, like many who are here and those of you who will go, was spent studying, working, and then when I got to my second year, I realized I got to develop more leadership opportunities and practice that skill. And so I sought out the best organization that there was out there. And you know what was interesting is I stood before this panel in an interview, big panel, kind of like sitting before these folks right here, and I was really intimidated and scared. And then you know what they asked me? They looked at me and they said, "What's your definition of integrity?" What's your definition of integrity? It's a big question, kind of a complicated word, but if you think about it, real simple meaning. I didn't know the answer. All right? I came up with an answer because I knew it meant to do good and to do well and to do the right things. But I remember leaving that interview, and I remember going back to my dorm room and looking up the definition of integrity. And I'll never forget, because what it means is one's ability to adhere to a code of values. A code of values, morals. How many of you think values and morals are important? Pretty important, right? They're very, very important, all right? It's very important. There was an author, in fact, he just passed away this year. His name was Zig Ziglar, all right? And Zig Ziglar references this interesting equation in his book, Top Performance. And I want you guys to remember this. This is good stuff right here. He said your morals drive your behaviors. And your behaviors drive your reputation. And your reputation drives your advantages. All right? Values, morals drive your behavior. Your behavior drives your reputation. And your reputation drives your advantages. See how that works? So, your values are important. What you're doing today is important. Studying is important. Let me ask you this. Is striving for excellence included in your values? If it's not, I'd encourage you. What I'm not saying is be perfect. I'm not saying be perfect. Because it's like Vince Lombardi said. Who's heard of Vince Lombardi? Right? Some of the sports folks in here. Vince Lombardi is probably one of the most winningest and successful coaches in the NFL. And he had this great saying. He said, none of us are perfect. But in our pursuit of perfection, we find excellence. A lot of words there, but at the end of the day, what it means is how we are developing ourselves and what we're striving for. And what I want to tell you is you strive for excellence, that is going to be a great snowball effect as you start driving the behaviors and the reputation and thus your advantages. Because guess what? When you drive those advantages and that reputation, people want to be associated with you. Right? When you drive the right behaviors and the right reputation, people want to be associated with you. Colleges want to be associated with you. Right? Opportunities like internships in Washington, D.C. want to be associated with you. People want to take opportunities with you if you can instill the right values and the right behaviors and doing the right things, okay? That's really important. So do you believe that that brings you solid advantages? Yeah? Okay, so guess what? Along the way, you're going to experience a lot of joy. You're going to experience a lot of rewards. Would you agree with that? And I'm also going to tell you a piece of truth. It's as certain as the sun rises and as the sun sets. And that is that you will also experience hardship, difficulties, and discouragement. You'll experience it. It's just part of it. But guess what? It's what you do today in your preparation that helps you get through that so that way you can continue on in your journey. Just recently, I had the great privilege of getting to sit in a meeting and listen to an author. Her name was Bonnie St. John. And Bonnie St. John was really inspirational to me. She explained, this was just a couple weeks ago, Bonnie St. John explained that she was a little girl. She grew up in San Diego, California. Okay, tropical climate, nice area. When she was 5 years old, Bonnie St. John had to have one of her legs amputated. Okay, so she only has one leg, and she went through school, and you can imagine it was probably pretty difficult for her to go to school, not just physically, right, but you can probably imagine some of the hardship, right, some of the, she said kids made fun of her and all this other stuff, but she had a good group of core friends, and she remembers that one of her group of core friends invited her senior year to go skiing, go on a ski trip. Go on a ski trip, right? And she's thinking, I don't know. Should I? Yeah? Okay. So she goes on this ski trip her senior year, and she comes back, and guess what? She had it in her mind that this was going to be her life's call. She was determined that she was going to be a professional skier. Now, can you imagine? She lives in San Diego. Is there any snow in San Diego? No. Does San Diego ever get snow? No. Do you think that having one leg would be a pretty big disadvantage to being a professional skier? It'd be pretty challenging, wouldn't it? Right? But guess what? She discovers what she can do to get into the best schools. She didn't have any money. She was underprivileged, but yet she finds the ability to write letters, just like what we heard a second ago, to be able to find ways to get into the right program so she can get her training. All right, so I'm going to make a long story short here. Eventually, Bonnie St. John goes to school, best ski school in the country. She had no money. She had people that believed in her because she had a good reputation, right? And she got advantages. And here was the interesting thing. She ended up being a U.S. Paralympic skier. She made it to the U.S. Olympic team. Not just one of our best skiers, but she made it onto the Olympic team, the Paralympic team. And she tells this story, and this is what I want you guys to remember. It was a fascinating story. She says she's up on the mountain, and the way this run works is you have to do 2 runs down the mountain to get your medal. And she's going down the first mountain. And she says, I don't know how I did. I think I did pretty well, but at the end of it, when she looked at the medal board, she was number 1. She was number 1 down the run. Pretty phenomenal, right? That alone, I'd have packed it up. I'd have said, I'm done. This is awesome, you know. But you had to take 2 runs. So she goes to the top on the second run. And this is in Austria, all right, Innsbruck, Austria. And she says the weather had gotten really treacherous. Snow was falling. She says she heard reports down on the base of the mountain that there was some ice, and that the other skiers were hitting this patch of ice and they were falling, and many of them weren't able to make or finish that final ski run. So she's up there, right? She's getting ready. She's getting her skis ready. She's getting ready. She's listening for the countdown, and she is nervous, as you can imagine, nervous. And she hears that bell go off, and it's time for her to go, and she's doing her moves, and she's going down. But what's really anticipating her is that patch of ice that she'd heard about. So she's going super fast down this thing. She's trying to make great time. She's going through the flags, and all of a sudden, she hits the patch of ice. What do you think happens?
She got right back up.
You've heard the story.
No.
All right? She fell. She fell. First off, yes, she fell. And she remembers sitting there and remember thinking, oh, now what do I do? Kind of hesitates a little bit, but she gets up. She got up, and she did everything she could to pull herself to get back to cross that finish line. There was one more skier after her. The final skier, she knew she was good. And that skier, too, had heard that people were not able to finish. So this final skier, she gets ready. She starts coming down the mountain. She's going through the flags. She's going as fast as she can. And guess what? She hits the patch of ice, right? And she, too, falls. But here's the difference. And Bonnie St. John tells it. She said, that skier, that woman, got up quickly and went down to the finish line. And she is the one who earned the gold medal on that particular event. Bonnie St. John indeed got a medal. I think she got the bronze on that one. But what she tells the story is this. The difference between a winner and a gold winner is the person who gets up the fastest and completes the run. All right? The person who gets up the fastest and completes the goal. So guess what? We are going through this journey. You're going through this journey of getting this solid education. You're earning great reputations, good behaviors, earning these advantages. But guess what? Hardships are going to come. But I want you to remember this principle. The difference between winners and gold winners are those who get up the fastest, who recover and complete their goal. All right? Does that make sense, everyone? Completing the goal. All right. So, let me first say, thank you for being a part of today's event, our HACEMOS High Tech Day. This is a fantastic opportunity for us to get to interact with you and learn from you, and you hopefully get something that you can take back and integrate as part of your own ability to achieve your goals. Fantastic opportunities. We're learning from you. We believe in you. Remember, as you go through your leadership development, leadership is the ability to accept and achieve goals, inspiring others to accept and achieve goals. Maintain the central element of leadership, which is integrity, right? We talked about that process. And then finally, remember the principle, get up fast and finish the goal. All right? We believe in you guys, and we're so grateful that we've had the opportunity to be here. Any questions? Or anything? Yes, sir.
What was your position when you first started with AT&T?
When I first started with AT&T, I started in Austin, Texas, and it was in a call center that was intended to help our technicians out in the field on where they needed to go to accept their assignments on how to go and repair phone poles. And then shortly thereafter that, one of my favorite positions in this company was getting to manage our installers and repairmen, and I spent my entire time outside learning how to fix telephone wires and manholes and all this other stuff on just how the network started. And that was one of the best assignments I think I've ever had in this company. So thank you for asking that question. Any other questions? Yes, over here.
What is your favorite part of your job at the present moment?
Favorite part of my job at the present moment? Because I get to work in the retail side of our business, the biggest joy that I get is interacting with customers and understanding from their perspective how AT&T can help them. And there's few opportunities. There's a lot of employees at AT&T. Many people work in what we call our sales channels. Many people work to support those sales channels. It's the greatest joy that I get is getting those assignments where we can work with customers directly and get to hear their perspective and find out how we can continue to make their experience as positive as possible. Great question. Thank you for asking. Yes?
How long have you been with the company?
You're reminding me about how old I'm getting, right? You know what? 17 years. Been with the company 17 years. So some of you are thinking, man, I'm not even 17 years old. What? Man, this guy's been 17 years. So, yeah, 17 years, and it's been I've learned every single year. And my wife has been a teacher for a long time, early childhood education. The number one thing she tells her students is commit yourself to being lifelong learners. Learning doesn't stop at 12th grade. Learning doesn't stop in college. Learning doesn't stop. It's always going. And so I commit every year, 17 years, what things do I get to learn that's new? And at the end of the year, I kind of just jot down some of the cool things that I've learned throughout the year. So lifelong learning. It's awesome. Thanks for the question. Yes, ma'am. Right. So you get this job, and do you like this job, right? Well, I got to tell you, you walk into a job, and there's a lot of, you're kind of scared, you're anxious, you're excited. So when I took on the first opportunity, I was eager to get engaged and to get started because it was something new and I was learning something. But to tell you that I didn't have some anxiety and fear, I'd be lying to you. But that's the cool thing, right? That's that practice and the experience that we talk about, right? Is if you don't have that healthy anxiousness, but yet the excitement to be able to take on something new and learn something from it, quite frankly, I think it's a great combination. So, thank you. It's a great question. Anybody in the front row? It's the splash zone right here, right? All right. Well, thank you very much. Appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Adran. Thank you very much. Okay, folks, this has been, I hope, an exciting day for all of you. You've listened to a lot of speakers talk about their careers, what they do for the company, and what opportunities are available for you. But more importantly, I want to take a few minutes and ask for the teachers and the counselors that are here to please stand. Are they all here? A couple that's still in here? Anybody? There's Miss Alswelbrook, right? Let's give them applause, because I think that from what I'm listening, what I've heard all day today is that a lot of you are doing what we're asking to do, to be in advanced programs, to be focused on your goals, and to be focused on your education. And so on behalf of AT&T and all the volunteers here from HACEMOS, I extend a sincere thank you to all of you. Because again, as I mentioned earlier today you're today's youth, but you're tomorrow's leaders. And we are investing in you the way you're investing in yourself. Again, on behalf of AT&T, thank you for being here this afternoon. And let's give yourself a nice round of applause. All right, one last action item that I need from you guys, and that is that we are going to be handing out these surveys as well as the Don't Text and Drive campaign pledges. Please take a look at the surveys and take them very serious. Your input makes our show next year better. It'll help us to raise the bar so that we can raise the bar for you guys on what we cover next year during this next event. Okay? The pledge speaks for itself. You saw the videos. You understand the campaign that AT&T is taking to ensure your safety.
You work and you earn and you spend and you get and you live and you learn and you work. I know a rich boy, poor little rich boy, thinks he needs his two of everything. He don't know what he don't know. Thinks he needs his two of everything.